Coinbase confirms it's halting operations in Japan. So basically, they're going to be stopping everything that's happening in Japan due to volatile market conditions. Kraken recently announced they're also ceasing its operations in Japan this month. Coinbase Japan will soon conduct a complete review of its business in the country. And Coinbase essentially entered the Japanese market after completing registration with the Japanese FCA in June of 2021. So this kind of seems like an abrupt ending. All customers will have until February 16th to withdraw their fiat and cryptocurrency. Again, you guys, if you're using Coinbase in Japan and you're a customer, please make sure to take note of that date. It looks like it is February 16th. My whole thing about this is they just kind of entered the Japanese market and now they're leaving. And one of the things I'm noticing, like we talked about the DOJ thing that's going to be coming out, the news that's going to be coming out later today. And I'm wondering if both Kraken and Coinbase are leaving because of anything that has to do with that. Zach, I'd love to get your take on this and your thoughts.
I mean, Japan is a tough market, right? They've been historically very diligent in regulating crypto businesses. The cost of compliance is a bit higher there, is my understanding. So Japan remains a tough one for outside companies to enter and serve well. So I think that's sort of the story that I'm seeing here with Coinbase and Kraken, both, taking their ball and going home. But yeah, certainly this speaks to the overall narrative of cuts, right? Whether it's headcount, whether it's business lines, this is what you're seeing, especially in the CeFi space, as they, again, contract relative to that rapid expansion that they had during the bull run. So this, to me, is still part of that bigger narrative. But also just Japan is a tricky market, I think, and has been historically for a lot of crypto businesses going back some years now. David, I'm tossing it to you, though.
Yeah, I just want to expand on that point about Japan. I'm not intimately familiar with the deep numbers, but it has never seemed like a particularly large market for crypto, and there are a lot of reasons for that. One that the regulatory aspect is certainly important, but I think I would also draw attention to just cultural factors. Specifically, we think about South Korea as a huge crypto market. And one way to think about that is it's a very hierarchical country, and there are a lot of people who are looking for opportunities to move up. And things are a little bit different in Japan. It's changed over time, but in general, it's a very egalitarian country where there's not as many big instances of wealth inequality, and there's a lot less speculation, a lot less of a tech market, SoftBank aside, for like IPOs and things like that. So it's sort of a question of mentality as much as regulation. I think that there, to a certain extent, these departures can be seen as just signs that Japanese people, obviously plenty of people who are interested in tech, but at the sort of population level, not quite as much interest in crypto as you'll find somewhere like South Korea or the US. So that's a definitely significant difference.
Yeah, and it's pretty disappointing to see Coinbase throwing in the towel on this front. They, for so long, wanted to enter the Japanese market because it is a very niche place which has its taste in crypto. XRP is notably very popular there, and that's not quite so popular on Coinbase. But it took Coinbase years to get the licensing it needed to enter the Japanese market. And to now say, well, we're just going to evaluate where we stand, and maybe we're going to take the foot off the pedal, stop everything. That's a really disappointing development to see.
One of the things that I wanted to chime in and say really quick is that we see Binance that's making moves all over the world. And I feel like this could be a very bad thing for Coinbase and Kraken to kind of lose that market share. I do understand that laws and regulations are different. It's an expensive top right there, and maybe the risk doesn't outweigh the reward right now. But at the same time, it seems like they're giving up a really, really big market share. I don't know. Zach, anybody?
Yeah, the one note here is that, we had the story the other day about FTX Japan being one of the coveted assets in the bankruptcy process, right? Largely because they had acquired some of those licenses, and that was something that was one of the more regulated parts of the SPF empire that buyers seem to be interested in purchasing. So, while we see these cutbacks here, we also see buying interest from particularly, some actors, unknown actors, I guess, at this point, who are saying, hey, FTX Japan is actually a decent asset. Maybe we should, snap it up and spin up our business in Japan a bit more meaningfully. So, maybe one step forward, two steps back, I think, with this FTX Japan interest, plus Kraken, now Coinbase. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. But, I think, the crypto market, again, in Japan has always been a bit unique, right? It's sort of anomalous in some respects. And I think, for outsiders looking to set up shop in that market, it can be difficult. So that's sort of my initial thought on this. And I don't know if there's much more to say, but David, I'm going to toss it to you.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, it's not just a crypto thing either. It's notoriously difficult for anybody to enter the Japanese market for almost anything, historically at least. So that's definitely worth keeping in mind. I wanted to mention one last thing, which is the Binance entry into Japan is still definitely speculative, at least based on what I was reading. They've recently bought a Japan-based exchange, but they haven't entirely sort of transition their operation. And I would honestly sound a slight note of caution. I mean, I have no specific reasons for this thought, but I do wonder whether Japanese regulators are going to be entirely happy to see Binance, which has, some ambiguities as to its regulatory status, have any, foothold in that country. So I think that's definitely a wait and see from me on the question of Binance. Wendy, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to pop in and give a couple side notes. Coinbase overall daily volume is down approximately 1.3% since late November of 2022, and coin stocks were down 1.6% during the pre-market trading today. I'm not a big numbers person, but I feel like 1.3% down as far as trading volume goes isn't really significant. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Only that I think the bigger really drops happened before November.
Right.
Yeah, like the November 2022 was the height of the market, and to hear that it's only down 1.3%, that's really not that bad at all. So there must be more to that story there because, yeah.
Wait, sorry, did we say November 22 or 21?
2022.
Was that? Okay, so that was just 3 months ago. Yeah, so most of the fall off has happened since November of 21, I think. Yeah. So we haven't had as much lately in terms of drops because all the drops happened. Once you drop 95%, you can only go down another 5%, right, guys?
There's nowhere to go.
We're trading at like $16,000.